You know that moment in life where everything finally feels like it's falling into place? That's exactly where I was. I had a fiancé I deeply loved, someone I had pictured a life with Sunday morning pancakes, messy late-night talks, family forever. We had been together for almost 3 years, and when he proposed last fall, I didn't hesitate. I said yes with my whole heart. He wasn't perfect, but he was mine. He made me laugh when I cried, held my hand during anxious spirals, and always remembered how I liked my coffee. Little things like that made me feel seen, made me believe this was real and safe. We had started planning the wedding, nothing extravagant, just close friends, warm lights, and promises. It felt right. My friends would always say we looked like one of those couples in a rom-com, playful, steady, and in sync. Even my family adored him. To them, he was the kind of guy who did everything right. And for the longest time, I truly believed I had found the kind of love you read about in novels, strong, intentional, built on something deep. But looking back, I now realize that sometimes even the clearest skies can hide the quiet buildup of a storm. There were no red flags, no uneasy feelings, just love, or so I thought. I wanted forever. I still do. But forever has to start from truth, not secrets. That's where this story really begins. It was a quiet Thursday night. We had just finished dinner, nothing fancy. Just takeout and laughter while watching a rerun of our favorite show. Everything felt normal. Until it didn't. He looked over at me with this expression I couldn't quite place. Serious, almost heavy. I paused, my heart instinctively sensing the shift. Is something wrong? I asked, my voice low. He took a deep breath. And then he said it. There's something I need to tell you before we get married. Just like that, my stomach dropped. I froze. My mind started racing through every possible scenario. But nothing could have prepared me for what followed. He told me that earlier in our relationship, right before things got serious, he had crossed a line. He hadn't been physically involved with anyone else, but he had shared deeply personal, emotional conversations with a coworker. They had connected late at night, vented to each other, even flirted. It wasn't just talking, not to me. It was emotional intimacy, the kind you're only supposed to share with your partner. He swore it never got physical. He said he cut it off the moment he realized it meant something more than it should have. But here's what hurt most: he kept it from me. For over 2 years. We moved in together, planned a wedding, built a future. All while he carried this silent truth. And now, weeks before the wedding, he decided to tell me. I remember staring at him, numb. His words echoed in my ears, but it felt like my world had gone quiet. A mistake, he called it. But to me, it was a choice, and one he made alone. In the days that followed his confession, I felt like I was walking through fog. Everything around me moved normally, people going to work, the sound of traffic outside, the usual texts from friends, but inside me, nothing felt normal anymore. I trusted him with my whole heart. And even though he didn't physically betray me, the emotional bond he created with someone else, before we fully committed, still shook me. He had shared pieces of himself with someone else, while telling me I was his only one. What hurt the most wasn't just what he did, it was how long he waited to tell me. For 2 years, he acted like nothing had happened. He looked me in the eyes every day, told me he loved me, planned a life with me, and never once thought I deserved to know the full truth. I started questioning everything. Was our love really as deep as I thought? Was our relationship built on honesty, or just on the pieces he chose to show me? He kept telling me I wanted to be honest before we got married, and I get that. I really do. But why now? Why not then when it actually happened? I cried more than I want to admit. I went for long walks by myself. I even journaled, something I hadn't done in years, just trying to find my own voice under the weight of all the disappointment. I didn't want revenge or drama. I just wanted peace, clarity. I needed to decide if I could truly move forward with someone who hid a truth that big from me, even if it was in the past, when I couldn't carry the weight of my thoughts alone anymore. I turned to the people I trusted most: my older sister and my closest friend from college. I didn't start the conversation by blaming him. I simply shared what he told me and how it made me feel. My voice shook as I spoke. Saying it out loud made it more real and more painful. My sister listened quietly, then asked, "Do you feel safe trusting him again?" It was a simple question, but it struck right at the heart of everything. I hadn't even let myself think that far yet. My friend, on the other hand, reminded me gently, people can make mistakes, but how they carry that mistake and how they make it right, that's what defines them. I appreciated both perspectives. They didn't tell me what to do. They just held space for me. No judgment, no pressure, just love and clarity. I even turned to an online forum, a community of strangers who somehow felt easier to talk to in the middle of the night. I asked if I was overreacting for feeling so shaken by something that technically happened before we were engaged. The responses were mixed. Some told me to forgive and move on. Others said my feelings were valid and trust needs a foundation of full honesty. Through it all, one thing became clear. It wasn't about punishment. It was about honesty, timing, and respect. Could I rebuild trust with someone who waited until marriage was on the table to come clean? I didn't want to be dramatic. I just wanted to feel safe in the love I was choosing for the rest of my life. I spent days walking around with a heavy heart. My mind would drift during work, in the grocery store, even while brushing my teeth. Every time I looked at him, I saw the person I loved yet now. I also saw someone who had hidden a painful truth from me, until it felt safe to tell. He apologized over and over. He told me he wanted to be honest before our marriage, that it meant something to him to start fresh. And maybe that was true. Maybe it was bravery. But to me, it felt too late. We had already talked so much about transparency. We'd made promises to each other, not just about faithfulness, but about honesty, emotional safety. That was my non-negotiable. And now I felt like that promise had been bent behind my back. I remember sitting in my car one night, engine off, listening to the rain hit the windshield. That's when I made the decision. I couldn't move forward pretending this didn't shake my foundation. When I told him, he cried. So did I. I didn't yell. I didn't blame. I just said, I love you, but I need love to feel safe too. And right now, I don't. He asked if we could work on it, if we could go to counseling. And maybe we could have. But in my heart, I knew I'd always wonder why he waited until now to be truthful. And I knew I'd always be afraid of what else might surface later. So I ended it. Not out of anger, but from a place of protecting my peace. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. The days after the breakup felt like walking through fog. Everything was quieter, yet heavier. His absence echoed in my routines, in the morning coffee I no longer made for two, in the silence where our late-night talks used to be. Grief came in waves. One minute I'd feel confident in my choice. The next I'd find myself questioning everything. Friends tried to help. Some said I was brave. Others asked if I was sure I wasn't being too harsh. That stung more than I expected. But I reminded myself I wasn't punishing him. I was protecting me. There was no celebration in this. I wasn't proud to let go of someone I loved. But I was proud of holding on to my boundaries. Of not brushing this under the rug because it was just in the past. The nights were the hardest. That's when doubt crept in. I'd replay our conversations, his confession. The look on his face when I said goodbye. Was it really just a mistake? Could we have fixed it? Was I walking away from a future I was meant to have? But then I come back to this one feeling, how small I felt the moment he told me. How much trust had crumbled in that instant. That memory grounded me. Eventually I began healing. Journaling helped. So did talking to a therapist. I started reconnecting with myself, remembering who I was before the relationship, and who I could still become. Even if it was the right person, it wasn't the right truth. Looking back now, I realized that trust isn't just about the present, it's about feeling safe with someone's entire story. His mistake may have been in the past, yes, but the choice to hide it? That was recent. And that choice affected me. Not because I expect perfection, but because I value honesty. Transparency is love in its most vulnerable form. And I never got that. What I've learned is that relationships aren't built on avoiding conflict or bearing uncomfortable truths. They're built on courage, the courage to speak, to listen, to heal, and sometimes to walk away when those things aren't present. I don't hate him. I never did. I think he told me because he finally wanted to be honest. And maybe, in another time, another version of us could have handled it differently. But in this version, I needed to choose me. And that's okay. It took heartbreak to remind me of my worth. To teach me that love should never come at the cost of my peace. That a mistake, no matter how small or far back in the past, can carry weight if it's never shared. If someone can't trust you with their truth, it becomes your burden without your consent. I still believe in love. I believe in forgiveness too. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting my own needs. It means letting go of the anger, while still holding on to the lesson. To those listening, maybe you've been in a similar place. Maybe you're there right now, wondering if you're overreacting, or if your boundaries are too high. You're not. Your heart deserves clarity, and you have every right to walk away from what doesn't feel right. So tell me, what would you have done in my place?